Was Ivan the Terrible a necessary ruler for Russia's survival, or a monster created by power? He was crowned Tsar at just 16. He expanded Russia into an empire. He ruled longer than almost any Russian leader. And yet, his name became synonymous with fear, madness, and blood. A crown lowered onto a young boy's head, a city burning, a trembling noble kneeling in the snow. This is Ivan IV. History remembers him as Ivan the Terrible, but history rarely tells simple stories. The word terrible did not originally mean cruel or evil. In Old Russian, Grozny meant fearsome, powerful, awe-inspiring, a ruler to be feared, not pitied. So how did a brilliant, reforming ruler become one of history's most terrifying figures? To understand Ivan the Terrible, we must go back to a time before the crown, before the bloodshed, before the fear. Before he became Tsar, before he became terrible, Ivan was just a child surrounded by enemies, a child raised in fear, a child who learned very early that power was the only thing keeping him alive. This is where it all began. Ivan was born in 1530 into the ruling family of Moscow. His father, Grand Prince Vasily III, died when Ivan was only 3 years old. Overnight, a child became the most powerful heir in Russia. But power does not protect the weak. When Ivan was 8, his mother died as well. Some believed she was poisoned. From that moment on, Ivan was truly alone. The palace that should have protected him became a cage. The boyars, powerful noble families, fought openly for control. They ignored the child prince. They humiliated him. They ruled in his name while treating him as nothing. Ivan watched. He remembered. He saw betrayal before he learned trust, violence before mercy, fear before love. And in silence, something inside him hardened. As a boy, Ivan found comfort only in books. He read the Bible, ancient histories, stories of kings chosen by God and kings destroyed by weakness. From those pages, he learned a single truth. This child would grow into a ruler who believed fear was stronger than loyalty. A ruler who would never forget what it meant to be powerless. In 1547, at just 16 years old, Ivan stepped into history. Inside the Dormition Cathedral of Moscow, he was crowned Tsar of all Russia. Not prince, not regent, Tsar, a title never before claimed by a Russian ruler. The crown was heavy, not only with gold, but with meaning. Ivan did not see himself as merely a ruler of men. He believed he was chosen by God, divinely appointed, untouchable, absolute. For the first time, Russia was not just a collection of lands. It was a state, centralized, unified, ruled by one will, Ivan's will. At first, his reign showed promise. Ivan surrounded himself with advisors. He listened, he learned. Laws were rewritten. Corruption was challenged. The power of the boyars was reduced. Order began to replace chaos. He reformed the army, created a permanent fighting force, strengthened the state. To many, this young Tsar looked like the ruler Russia needed. But power has a memory. Ivan never forgot his childhood. He never forgot the men who ruled over him, who humiliated him, who made him feel small. And slowly, his belief hardened into something darker. To Ivan, sharing power was not balance. It was weakness, and weakness was dangerous. The Tsar who brought order to Russia would soon rule it through fear, and the boy who had once been ignored would make sure no one ever ignored him again. Ivan learned early that power could be taken from him. Now, he made sure that would never happen again. At first, his rule was about control, about removing uncertainty, about eliminating threats before they could grow. He began to see enemies everywhere, not just outside Russia, but inside it, in the boyars, in advisors, even in those closest to him. Trust became weakness, and mercy became dangerous. To Ivan, fear was not cruelty, fear was order. In 1565, he divided Russia in two. One part would remain under traditional rule, the other would belong to him alone. He called it the Oprichnina, a state within a state. The Oprichniki answered only to Ivan. They wore black, they rode in silence, they carried symbols of death, to remind the people who truly ruled Russia. Cities were emptied, families destroyed. Loyalty was demanded, not earned. And the boy who had once been powerless became the man everyone feared. But fear, once unleashed, never stays controlled. Fear gave Ivan control, but it took something from him in return. He ruled alone now, surrounded by guards and isolated. The walls of the Kremlin grew thicker, and the distance between Ivan and his people grew even more. Paranoia followed him everywhere. Every whisper sounded like betrayal. Every silence felt like a threat. Then came the losses. In 1560, Ivan's wife, Anastasia, died suddenly. She was the one voice he trusted, the one presence that calmed him. And when she was gone, something inside him shattered. Ivan became convinced she had been poisoned by the boyars, by traitors, by enemies he could no longer see, but always felt. From that moment on, mercy disappeared. Punishment became personal. Power no longer protected Ivan. It consumed him. And the terror he had created to control others began to control him. Ivan lived longer than his enemies, but not longer than his fear. The ruler who once united Russia now ruled a nation gripped by terror. Trust was gone, friendship impossible, even love became dangerous. In 1581, during a moment of rage, Ivan struck his own son. The heir, the future. The blow was fatal, and the silence that followed was heavier than any scream. From that moment on, Ivan was no longer feared. He was broken. He withdrew from the world, from power, from people, from himself. In 1584, Ivan IV died, alone, and Russia was left with a question that still echoes through history. Was Ivan the Terrible a monster born of cruelty, or a ruler shaped by betrayal, fear, and a brutal world?